Well, so far the response has been pretty mixed, but let's take a closer look at the newest Air Jordan, the Air Jordan 34. What's going on, guys? You're watching Sneaker News on YouTube, and today we're taking a closer look at one of the most important shoes of 2019. It is the all-new Air Jordan 34. Before we show you all the details and our first thoughts on the new silhouette, let's do us a quick favor, hit the subscribe button, and then at the end of the video, if you like what you saw, just hit that like button. So if you guys have been paying attention on social media, you're probably aware that Jordan had a special event planned in Harlem for the launch of the Air Jordan 34. They invited WNBA players Kia Nurse and Asia Durr, and of course the man of the hour was none other than Zion Williamson, who was announced as the newest member of Jordan Brand back in August. Obviously, it was a star-studded event, and the expectations for Zion Williamson, not only as an NBA player but as a brand pitchman, are pretty high. He was one of the first to be spotted in the Air Jordan 34, and again, if you saw on social media, he did a dope between the legs windmill dunk with the kids jumping in the background. It was a dope photo moment, and we were there to witness it all, and we of course got a pair of the 34 just to show you guys a closer look. But before we do all that, let's just go over the basics in terms of release date. These are dropping on September 25th, 2019. A retail price is $180, and it will be available on Nike sneakers as well as select Jordan retailers. So September 25th for $180. And this is one of the two launch colorways. This is the classic white, black, and red. It's pretty much the official colors of Jordan Brand at this point, but there is a second blue void version that is also dropping on that day. But we're gonna show you a closer look at this pair because there's a few details on this that's not on the other one. Before we do that, we just wanna give you our first impressions of the Air Jordan shoe. Typically, the unveiling of the new Air Jordan is always one of the biggest events of the year. We've attended many launch events, and quite honestly, we've seen it all because we've been exposed to so many sneakers over the years, and specifically with the Air Jordans, we're trained to expect something that's completely new and completely radical, something that's really not ever been done in any other basketball shoe. It's a little hard to do that, 34 models in, but they've definitely impressed us with what they've introduced, and there's some things that really make this a true Air Jordan sneaker. So let's take a closer look. Right off the bat, we want to talk about the weight. The lightweight performance was something that Jordan Brand really emphasized. That's something that's been direct feedback from the players for a very, very long time. So the shoes are extremely lightweight, actually. It's only 13.1 ounces for a size 9, and this is a men's size 10, so we imagine it's just a few, fractions of an ounce heavier than 13.1, but like we said, it's super lightweight, and there's a reason for that, and that's the upper. As you can see, it's completely see-through. It's this netting mesh material, which we must say is probably a nod to the Air Jordan 4. As you guys know, the Air Jordan starting from the 31, they're pulling inspiration from the Air Jordans from 30 models prior. The 34 and the 4 are tied in some ways, but the designer Tate Kurbich was pretty clear in communicating that the shoe wasn't necessarily inspired by the Air Jordan 4, but there are a few design cues that kind of pay homage to it, but it's not really like an Air Jordan 4 inspired shoe. But again, the upper netting mesh, which is pretty much the entire body, could be a nod to the Jordan 4, but that's what's providing the super lightweight overall package. Beneath the netting of the shoe is just basically the interior reinforcements, what you need in a basketball shoe, and that's like the forefoot cover and the heel. So basically the upper is entirely stripped down. There's only materials where they need it. Again, in the forefoot, there's like an interior layer that helps feet keep locked down. The forefoot is extremely important for basketball players. We're constantly jumping around or basically on our toes all the time. One of our favorite design details is this exterior sort of bumper guard. It has these little indented dots with the little Jumpmans. One thing that's pretty common with Air Jordans is that the Jumpman logo is very, very subtly used. If you just look at it first glance, you can't even tell if there is a Jumpman logo, but there is one right here at the forefoot. So now if we look at the tongue, you see this little detail, it's a few dots. It's actually Morse code for the number 23. Another Air Jordan 4 inspiration is the tongue logo. You have the classic Jumpman with the flight, which debuted on the Air Jordan 4 for Air Jordans, we have to say. Look on the medial side, again, not much material. It's just that base sort of mesh layer. There's a little bit of overlay foxing just to cover up that seam. And the mesh here is actually black and adds a nice little contrast to the shoe. The upper sort of shell ends right over here. And as you can tell, it's just stitched onto an exterior heel piece. If you had the Air Jordan 33, which was a great performing shoe, biggest criticisms of the Jordan 33 was that the shoe was nearly impossible to put on because of the fast fit system. But thankfully, the shoe goes back to classic shoelaces. We appreciate that the brands are kind of going down the innovative route and trying to go laceless and, you know, introduce new methods of locking down. But at the end of the day, the shoe needs to open up so your foot can go in. I mean, the human anatomy is never going to change. You know, people's feet are not designed to fit into a small hole like this, so it needs to be stretched out so it could fit in. A few other design details, as you can tell on the heel, there's a Nike Air. Again, a quick nod to the Air Jordan 4, but the Blue Void colorway does not have the Nike Air on the heel, so this might be exclusive just to this colorway. These extended tabs right here at the top of the lace collar also help you pull the shoe on, you know, similar to what a heel pull tab does. So again, when you want to stick your foot in, you can use these tabs to kind of anchor yourself and slip them in. The new 34 logo right here with the 3 X's and the 4, again, it kind of not only uses Roman numerals, which is something very, you know, antiquated. It does have a very futuristic design to it, so we were a big fan of the 34 logo. Quick hit right here of the Air Jordan. One interesting detail is that there's little circular pods. These are little crash pads for your ankle bone, and it's a pretty useful detail, but it only reminds us of Curry 4 actually. If you guys know the Steph Curry signature shoe, the 4th one had these same circular crash pads. Again, the Curry 4 isn't the one that started it. There are various other shoes that have these circular pads. The Flypasa 2 is an example of that, but because the Curry 4 is so much more recent, it just sort of reminds us of that shoe for some reason. So that's basically the upper. It's very lightweight, you know, super minimal, and they made sure they added enough texture to it so it's not too simple. But now we're going over to the midsole, which we must say is the most interesting part about the shoe. And Air Jordans have always been, you know, known for their cushioning systems. It's a hallmark of the brand, and they wanted to do something completely different. This is the new Eclipse plate, which is an evolved form of the Flight Speed plate, which first debuted in the Jordan 28. Midfoot piece right here is called Pebax, and it's not entirely new either. Pebax has been used in Nike Shox sneakers, it's been used on LeBron's, but it's very lightweight, but at the same time it is pretty flexible. So midfoot, if you play basketball, is very important because that's where there's a lot of movement happening. So it allows for free movement, and they chose not to fill it with any sort of foams or anything like that. They just wanted to move freely about its business. The cushioning system actually is Zoom Air. Has been consistent with Air Jordans for quite a while, but there's 2 major portions. There's a large 4-foot zoom bag and a large heel zoom bag. Just the way sneakers are even kind of manufactured these days, it gets the foot as close to the zoom unit as possible. If you played ball in the KD12, that's a great example of where the shoe was built so that there's almost no material between your foot and the actual zoom bag. So that's just basically the cushioning unit in a nutshell. The traction is a classic herringbone traction pattern. This classic sort of chevron, sort of zigzag has been pretty consistent in basketball shoes for a while. You know, Jordan likes the way it performs, so they chose not to change that at all. Right here is another little fun design detail. It just basically says J4 to 34, so that's Air Jordan 4 to Air Jordan 34, 2.89 and 19, so that's February 1989, which was when the Air Jordan 4 first debuted at the All-Star Game, and 19, which is obviously 2019. You know, that's pretty much it. This is the Air Jordan 34. You know, half the people love the shoe, half the people don't seem to like it, but you know, Jordan Brand is just trying to create footwear that A, makes sense for its athletes, and B, introduces something new to the market, because basketball shoes have been around forever. This is the 34th Air Jordan. Expectations are always high, especially for Air Jordans, even though they're not exactly what they once were, but if you're looking for a performance basketball shoe, this is definitely up there. You know, we played a lot of ball in the 33, and those were extremely comfortable. Again, the criticism was just getting your foot in there was really, really difficult, but they definitely addressed that issue with the classic shoelace structure. Extremely lightweight, super sticky outsole. And again, this drops on September 25th for $180. This is the classic OG white, black, and red. And you got the Blue Void also dropping on that same date. So this is our quick review of the Air Jordan 34. You know, like the video if you were happy with what you saw, and let us know in the comments if you'll be buying a pair of these. We have all the information for you below in the links in the description. And thanks for watching.